All right, here's our final video, video number 4 for our condensed 12, 2, 3, and 4 lessons. This whole video is going to be about box and whisker plots. A lot of these notes are actually just going to be to set us up to understand what a box and whisker plot is. All you'll need to do on your assignment is look at a box and whisker and interpret information from it. But in order to do that, we need to know how these are created, so we are going to go ahead and go through the full notes. First of all, a box and whisker plot itself is a graph that separates data into subsets, summarizing a set of data by displaying it along a number line. It's split into 4 equal parts called quartiles. So the median separates the data into an upper and a lower half. So that'd be where the box is split. The first quartile is the median of the lower half. So that's going to be where your box begins, symbolized as Q1. The second quartile is the median, so that's the middle like we just referred to. And the third quartile is going to be the median of the upper half. Okay, so that's going to be where your box ends. And we use Q3 for quartile 3. You don't really refer to quartile 4 when you're looking at a box and whisker. That would just be the end of the entire plot, but that's also known as the maximum value. Here's a definition that might sound familiar from 6th grade, the interquartile range, or IQR. It's essentially just the range of the box. It is considered a measure of dispersion or spread or variability, very much like range. So here's an example just to help explain what this means a little better. So we have data. It's already in order for us. We have our minimum, which is the lowest value, our maximum, which is the highest value, and halfway in between we have 11. Which would end up being our median, or as we read above, quartile 2. If you end up having data values where you have an even set of data, then your median is actually going to fall between 2 values, and remember you find that by looking at the average of the 2 middle values. Then we look at the lower half. So if we look between 2 and 9, we don't count the median. So look between 2 and 9, the middle number is 5. So that's where your box is going to start, and that'll be quartile 1. For the upper half, again, we don't include 11. We go from 12 to 25. The middle number is 21. So your quartile 3, or where the box ends, will be at 21. This whole value in between quartile 1 and quartile 3, that's your interquartile range. Okay, so here we took that information and we created our box plot. Our minimum's at 2, quartile 1's at 5, median's at 11, quartile 3's at 21, maximum's at 25. Here's our number line. Now, depending on the material you're looking at, sometimes the number line's above or below. I often draw them below, but it does not matter. And then here's our 4 parts. 25% of the data is in the whisker. 25% is in the first portion of the box. 25% is in the second portion of the box, and the remaining 25% is the second whisker. They're not going to be equal size. It just means that that's how much of the data makes up 25% of your data for each section. Your interquartile range is going to be your middle 50%. Okay, so that's what that note is referring to there, what I just explained. So if we look at got it 1 and got it 2, this is where we're going to be looking to find all the pieces of a box and whisker plot to be able to create one. Again, your homework will not have you do that, but we need to understand how these work. So we have an A and a B. They give you data. They want you to find the minimum, first, third quartiles, median, and maximum. So in order to do that, we have to put them in order, which I did here. Start with the minimum, maximum, and then we work our way into the middle. We have an odd amount of data value, so our median is 85. Then we look at the lower half. The middle number of the lower half is 75. The upper half is 95. So those are our 5 key measures when we're talking about box and whisker plot. Example B has an even number of data values, so when we arrange them in order, your median doesn't actually fall into one of the values itself. So we have to use our average here. So the average between 11 and 19 is 15, so that's our median. Since the median itself is not actually one of our data values, then we look at everything below 15. So that's going to include these three. So that means 7's in the middle of our lower half and 21's in the middle of our upper half. So there's our 5 values. To actually create your own box and whisker plot like in Got It 2, you do what we just did in Got It 1, and then you plot it on a number line. These ones are a little more spread out. When you rearrange these values, which represent millions of dollars in audio device sales, we go from 4 to 34. So when I created my number line, I knew I had to show enough between 4 and 34. But I actually didn't decide what I was going to scale my number line by until I found some of these other values. So again, the median here for this one is in between 14 and 15. So that one's a little bit easier to find. So that'd be 14 and a half. Our median between 4 and 14 is 9. And our median between 15 and 34 is 16. So those are going to be our 5 key values. So that's where we're going to plot our 5 points on the number line. So I decided to still go by ones, so that way I could plot this as accurately as I could. You could condense this by using a number line that goes by 2s. You just might have a little bit more squished data here in the side, but I would accept going by 2s as well. Once you plot your points, draw your box, draw your whiskers, and there's your box and whisker plot. Don't forget to title.